Hello and welcome to this tutorial on Caballos Españoles by Korn. This is one of the alternative list C ABRSM grade 8 pieces. Currently it's 2022. Interesting piece, really interesting piece. Way more challenging than I think it should be for grade 8. This is really pretty tricky, especially this chorus too. That's pretty tricky. A pianist colleague of mine, basically we were hanging out and he happened to have the music, and so I was like, oh, can I take a look at that? And I started having a look at the beginning and I was going, what's the rhythm here? And he was laughing because it's like, yeah, it's pretty tricky. So, you know, for me, these rhythms are absolutely not sight readable. To be fair, I don't really read a lot of jazz, Latin American rhythms. I mean, I play jazz, but I tend not to read these rhythms. I just kind of play them and write them down. Yeah, this is probably going to be a quite in detailed one. My gift to you guys, even though probably very few people are actually going to learn this. I mean, I particularly wanted to learn this because I love the original tune that this is based on, the Por una Cabeza, Cabeza, actually, because it's not Spanish. But anyway, so let's just jump straight in to this chorus 2-bit, because not so long ago I was looking with a student about a different jazz piece and he was finding it really hard to learn it. And I was basically just saying to him, are you just adding one note at a time? And really, this is probably what most people will need to do in this chorus 2-bit. You know, you can't just go dum 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 dum. Then you can learn the left hand, then you can learn the right hand. Dum da 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 da. But that's probably not going to help you much when you put the hands together. Oh, whoops. Exactly. Even I already know it, and that did not help me just then. So, I mean, I needed to do this a little bit. So I would imagine most people are really going to need to do this. So what you do is you play one note at a time. You start with this. Right, I can play that. And then making sure that you are counting. You always need to count. There is no way that you can wing your way through this. If you have to be able to go at some point, you have to be able to go 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 1, 2, 3, 3, 3, 4. Oh my God, it's difficult. It's really difficult. I mean, but when I was learning it, I was able to do that. So 1, I'll go slower. 1, 1, 2, sorry, 1, well, gosh, I mean, hopefully, I'm going to leave all this in because I want to show you that if you take this too fast, it's difficult and you've just got to slow it down. You've just got to be patient, because if I try and do it too fast, I can't do it. You want to be able to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then there's I'm a little bit loose there. So we've got in that bar 3, 4, 1. There we go. Now I've lined it up. Okay. I mean, I really recommend that you do that first. That you can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 on every single bar. Let's see if I can speed it up a little. 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. So yeah, and then just gradually. Now that to a lot of you really aren't going to want to do that, but something that I've been trying to get my students to do a lot of is that when they're playing, you've got to be able to nod in time with the beat. Now, I might not be able to count 1, 2, 3, 4 at the moment when I'm going faster because I haven't practiced it that way recently. But what I should be able to do, hopefully, I'm going to put myself on the spot. I should be able to just nod my head in time with the beat. So. Now it's a bit notey, it's not very interesting. By the way, I was also tapping my foot, so I was nodding my head, tapping my foot with every single beat. I'm going to imagine most of you are not going to be able to do that unless you really practice doing that. Yeah, I don't want to get too deeply into this because this could be a whole other video. I spend quite a lot of time with my students with how we nod our heads. It's no good just going, it has to be like, you know, you're chilling out, you've got your favorite music on. How do you move? How do you groove? How does your neck groove to it? And you want that same kind of feeling, like, so it's this same groove that you'd have if you were listening to your favorite music. And if you tap your foot as well, that's ideal. But if you're just going, no way, you have to feel the pulse of all of this. So we do it one note at a time. We do it with counting, 1, and then maybe loop it as well. So something like 1, 1, 1, 1. And in my head, I've got the semiquaver pulses running as well, so it's like ba 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 ba, 1 ba ba, sorry, 1 ba 1 ba 1 ba 1, and it's just in my mind. It's so that I'm going 1 so I know that I'm in time. Then we can add beat 2, 1 1 2. Oh, I mean, I didn't count because my head is nodding, my foot is tapping. I suppose you can do that if you don't. Would I let my students do this? It's not as good, but you can just go. My foot is tapping on the beat, my head is nodding. If you're just going, you're just not going to get it. It might seem like it's quicker, but it will take you longer to just, in the end, you just want to be able to go. And to do that, you have to internalize this feeling of beat, beat, 1, whoa, 1, 2. It's so much harder when you actually say the beats out loud, but if you do that, you're going to make it so much easier for yourself than when you stop saying it. So 1, 2. Then we can add the next note. And the next note happens with the C in the left hand. So 1, and I'm going to slow it down. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. So you just build it up like this. Now some of you are probably going to want to then learn it like this. 1, 2, 1, and there's like lots of staring, lots of like, oh, that's there, that goes with that, and then just get stuck there. You know, it can happen for days and days and days and weeks, and it's just always 1, 2. But the whole point, and again, this is like a whole other video. I could get so distracted by talking about this, but the aim is you want to make this effortless. The goal of practicing is you have to imagine that you wave a magic wand. You can click your fingers and like a wizard has made a magic spell. And the magic spell means that suddenly your fingers just move for you. A bit like if anyone's ever listened to or watched Sparky's Magic Piano where the piano plays itself. It's like, you want to have the feeling that you could do this in your sleep. You could be asleep and go. You could have a conversation, you have to feel this and you have to notice what it all feels like in your hands and in your fingers so that you do not have to think about it with your conscious mind. It is outside of your conscious mind. So let me just sort my cable out. So, then you can speed it up and so you're going from 1, 2, which at first is going to be difficult, and the goal. And don't rush this, do not rush this, but you need to know that your target, your bullseye, your goal is without you having to think about it. So don't get stuck in the 1, 2, and certainly do not look at your hands. If you're looking at your hands as you do this, it's going to be so much more difficult. You have to, I mean, if you're looking anywhere, look at the sheet music, but without staring at anything. You just look at it and go, oh yeah, it's just, Well, yeah, what you want to do is you want to start memorizing what it sounds like. So you can sort of actually just close this and go, and you know, oh yeah, it sounds like that. So then we can add the next note. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 sounds a bit like Carmen. 1, the habanero. 1, 2, 3, and then I can add the next bit. I'm going to add the next 2 notes, although really, if for you guys, I would recommend just add the next note. So 1, 2, 3, 1. Oh, too fast to loop. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. So that's a bit fast for me. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, until you can then go, and you just build it up like this. Now don't just keep adding 1 every single time. Really, actually, what you might want to do is just do it by half bars. And then if we start on beat 3 of bar 38, you have some options here. You could either just put the C down, then go 3, 4. So before and then 3, 4, or you could just not play that tied note and just go 3, 4, 3, 4, 3, 4, and then build it up in half bar chunks. Then chain them together, 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on and so on. Then when you learn, and I'm now going to speed it up, but you shouldn't speed it up. So if we take the second half of that bar, 3, 4, 3, 4, and then we go to the first half of the next bar, 1, 2, that's tricky, 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, and make sure that you're using the right fingers. Then you can chain those 2 together. So I'm going to chain together the second half of bar 38 and then the first half of the next bar. So we've got 3, 4, 1, 2, and really I'm going too quickly. I could just do it with head nodding. I'm going to find that much easier. So with the head nodding, and then and that should be a minute. Oh, and with the foot tapping as well. But do not just go without internalizing what that beat feels like. The other way that I would use to learn this is every time you've got a whole load of semiquavers or 16th notes all in a row, I would do shifting accents. I'm not going to explain shifting accents too much again this time round. You can watch the last how many tutorials? Certainly the one on CP Bach that I just put up, and then on the Glier that I put up before that. You don't have to be learning those pieces. They're grade 6 pieces, but there's explanations of how you do the shifting accents. So basically, if I'm just looking at whole beats with runs of semiquavers or 16th notes, here the beat 4 of bar 38, and then the next 3 beats, I can do shifting accents. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, where 1 is super loud, 2 is super quiet. And I'm making sure I've got the right fingers. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. And do make it that slow. Then I'm going to shift it. So I'm starting on the same note, but I'm starting on the 2, which is quiet. So it's 2, hang on, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, and then I would loop it as well. Then I do it in 3s, so the 1 is loud, 2 and 3 are quiet. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, and I'm looping it. Then you do it in 4s. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Don't start that fast though. Then start on the 4 for 1, sorry, the wrong way, for 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. So maybe at some point I'm going to put up a little bit more about that, but there are various pitfalls that people can fall into. Watch my tutorial on the CP Bach solfeggetto for shifting accents to basically find out what most people do wrong when they do shifting accents. Something else that I think that you're going to need in order to play chorus 2 well is to have an idea of where the chord tones are. and where the notes that are not chord tones, which are more like enclosures and appoggiaturas. So here, the chord is A minor, passing note, so the B is on its way to the C, which is a chord tone. The chord tones are A, C and D. And so B is a passing note in both directions. So these notes here are like fillers. So if I only play the essential notes, it's this. So, ba-dum, da. So hang on, and those are like the chord tones. That's just filler. Then we've got, this is chord tone. Now the chord that we're playing is E minor, this is what's called an enclosure. When you go the F sharp, the G. The G is a chord tone, but we're really circling around to get back to the 1. The 1 is E. 1, 2, flat 3, 7, 1. So it's a little circle that we're making to get back to the 1. Then it's like we're playing an E minor arpeggio, but we've got this passing note. I'm not going to go too much into this. Then we've got, and then here this F sharp is like just a tension note. So it's almost like a little trill. And then this is D minor first inversion. Then this is a tension chord. They're all chord tones. These are all chord tones, C major. Tension, these are all tension notes moving to the next. Here is an enclosure. Very jazz. So basically we're trying to go from the B to the C, and it goes, and it circles round. So I'm not going to talk much more than that because it's sort of getting a little bit advanced, but basically have a look at it and go, what's it doing? What you don't want to do is just play a mass of notes. You don't just want to go, you know, don't just play massive notes. It's got, you have to know which notes have release, which notes have tension. Oh, whoops. So it's telling a story, and I can't go into too much detail because it's way beyond the scope of a short tutorial, but you know, get a feeling for at any given moment, why are the notes there? What's it doing? Now, by the way, bar 44 really needs practice. Bar 44, I think, is the most difficult bar in the whole piece. So this is an interesting moment. It's basically outlining an A minor major 7 chord. It's an A minor triad with a major 7th on the top. And oh goodness, I want to get pulled down the rabbit hole of actually what that chord is, but I'm not going to let myself go there. That's for a completely different tutorial. Anyway, if you put all of that in place, you should be pretty close to getting all of chorus 2, and do not expect it just to happen immediately. You know, I've seen a lot of people play this on YouTube, and I'm amazed just how many people are playing this for grade 8 and playing it really well. There's some really talented people out there. But for most people, this is really going to take a huge amount of patience. So let's go from the beginning. I think that there are a lot of weaknesses in this piece, and oh, by the way, yeah, before I carry on as well, Uwe Korn has put his own performance of this piece up on YouTube. Don't listen to it. It's full of things that are very, very different from what he's written, and it's quite scratty. I think probably by his own admission, he'd probably admit he's not an amazing pianist, but actually it bothers me that almost every single bar in chorus 2, instead of going bam, dum, bam, dum, 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 so 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. When he puts the hands together, he actually plays 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. If you can't tell the difference, in almost every single bar when he plays it, the very final left-hand note happens halfway through the bar and not one semiquaver or 1/16th note in. So he plays a completely different rhythm in the left hand. There's other things like in chorus 1 that he doesn't actually do as he's written. So don't use his as inspiration. There are so many good versions that people have put up on YouTube of this. And, you know, normally, I hope, you know, this might sound a little bit arrogant, but usually when I record my Synthesia performance and stick it up on YouTube, I try really hard to not look at anybody else's performance before I put it up, because I want to have my own feelings about it. And then I look and go, all right, let's see what other people have done with this. And usually I'm like, yeah, I've done good. I'm pretty happy with mine compared to all the versions that teachers have put up, and generally I think, yeah, mine holds up pretty well. And then, you know, I thought, yeah, I did okay with this. I wasn't super happy with it, but I put it up, and then I was like, oh my God, there's so many really good versions out there. So, you know, usually I think, yeah, mine's pretty good. I think that actually there's a lot of good versions of this up on YouTube, and I don't make any claims that mine is going to be one of the best. So what I want to emphasize in this particular tutorial, this tutorial is not so much about how to be brilliant, although, you know, hopefully it'll help you with that, but it's more about you have a lot of choices. I think there are a lot of things here that are not clear, or that actually I would do very, very differently from what Uwe has marked in his score. I don't think that everything he asks for is necessarily effective. So, for example, he wants everything allegro, he wants it fast and loud from the beginning. And when he plays it, it's something more or less like... whatever. It's like that. It's quite virtuosic. And there's tons of pedal. I'm not convinced that's really what this music wants. I know he arranged it, but when I sat down and looked at this, I was like, oh, this is like Spanish. This is like Chirina. It's like it's got this lovely... and a very Spanish flavour. And if you just go, whatever it is, oh, sorry, I feel like a lot of what makes this really beautiful, really, really lovely, really well written is just completely lost. So in my version, I start much more mysteriously. It's like rather than the horses stomping at what's the expression? Stomping at the bit? I don't know what the expression is, but you know, it's like the horses are, you know, they're very agitated. Mine is more like setting the scene, like with the cinematography. It's like, yeah, the sun is starting to rise, and you're starting to see the horses way off in the distance, and it's very hazy, and it's much more of a mood. And yeah, so it's like mine is much more setting the long shot. And I think actually, you know, one of my criticisms of the way that this has been arranged is it's very, very difficult to feel that it's unified, rather than here's a section here, here's now a new section, here's a completely different section, and here's a completely different section that feel like they're about to fall apart. When I look to make my own interpretation of a piece, I want it to feel like one unified piece. So there's too many stop, start, stop, start, stop, start moments. If I start quiet and set the mood, it builds this suspense so that you're waiting to see what happens after bar 5. A lot of people play bar 5 like this, and then they go like this and hang on to it, and I don't understand why you would do that. Well, actually I do understand, because when I did it just now there was some unpleasant wrong notes. So, but what I like is, and it's much more theatrical, it's got a lot more emotion to the audience if you go and ping it like that and really sort of come away. So, except you've got to be a bit more accurate than that. And then, interestingly, sorry about my mic here, interestingly, the pause is not on this note, the pause is actually between the bars. So you'd go one, I'm not going to count, I'm going to count here, 1, 2, 3, 4, then no pedal, and you wait. That's where the pause is. And then, again, Uwe, he just goes like a bat out of hell and just goes, that's what he wants. But I'm like, I love this song. I love the Por una Cabeza. I love that song. So when in the book that this comes from, which is like jazzed up tango or something along those lines, there is like his version of the tango, da, 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 da. And then we finish that and then go into this, which makes a lot more sense. But because most people playing this for grade 8 are not going to be playing the original version, it's like this is the first that we're going to have heard of the theme. That's why I think it sounds better to set the scene, etc. and so on. So then, for me, I want to be very, I mean, it's so tender, and Latin American culture, it's so tender, it's so from the heart, it's so beautiful. It's not like just flashy and empty and without deep, deep emotion, which is why I want to go, you know, I want to really feel that tune. And then I think what I did in my recording is I kind of had a mixture of both. So it's like, and then when we get here, I push it and then go, and then push it. That's how I like it, but you don't have to play it like that. You could just start the beginning. Pause, and then so you know you can play like that. I need to stop the recording very, very briefly, otherwise it'll go over 4 gigs. So I'll be back in one moment. Okay, and so I'm back. So another choice that you have is about what kind of pedal that you use. I quite like, because it's da 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 da, so I like that sort of all in the pedal. And then these I don't want pedal for them. I want them very, very clearly defined. And by the way, I go round the 1. It's 1, 3, 1, 2, 1, which gives me a much more clearly defined turn. Anyway, so, and then sometimes I'll ease up on the pedal after this initial bit, or, I mean, basically there's so many ways that you can play this. Just experiment with what you want to do with the pedal. Now, something that I did notice some other pianists do it on YouTube after I'd recorded my version, and I thought, oh, I like that. Why did I not think of that? Sounds really flash. It's when you go really fast. And without pedals sounds really good as well. So it's something like, and then, I really like that. But then I thought, why did I not do that? I thought, well, it's not the tune. If you go, it sounds great, but it's not, it doesn't reflect the singing. Da, 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 da. It's not da, 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 da. It's da, 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 da. Dum, 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 rather than, it's lovely, but I just don't think it matches what's sung. Anyway, so something so Uwe put up a masterclass, which is worth watching, although he doesn't really say much. He doesn't really impart much of, of usefulness. And one of the things that he says is that in a tango rhythm, you want to emphasize the second quaver. So what he says is like when we're going, that you want to lean on, you want to make this note here louder. So interestingly enough, when you listen to his, I'm really sorry if you think I'm being mean to you if you do watch this. You know, it's got a lot of strengths, but anyway. So after having said, you know, make it louder and lean on it, in his version that he put up on YouTube, what he does is he snatches it and goes, and in fact I don't think it's even much louder. It's just like. So it's like that second quaver, the second quaver of beat one gets rushed. Now, personally, I'm not a tango expert, although, you know, I have listened to a lot of it and I'm a big fan of Piazzolla. It's not like I'm completely fresh to it, but I'm not a tango expert. So if I'm wrong on this, you know, please let me know in the comments what your thoughts are on this. But to me, rather than speeding that quaver up and going, what I would expect is, so if I put that together, I'll do it Uwe's way. Oh God, that's hard. It's really hard for me to do it that way around. Maybe I'm being a little bit mean there. And now I'm going to push it back the opposite way. I'm going to make it late. So, I'm exaggerating in both directions. I think the second way makes a lot more sense, personally. And then you can make it louder as well. And then what I do to get that is I rotate left around my little finger and then back. And I find that quite useful. I've got to say that when I recorded this and stuck it up on YouTube, a lot of the time I just kept forgetting to put that rhythm in. And also sometimes, you know, I like adding a little bit of rubato to it. So if I've sped up in the previous bar, I don't then suddenly want to take ages. So I might play around with it and do. No, it didn't work that time. So yeah, basically it's very hard for me to put into words, but I sort of use my gut intuition sometimes for how much I want to delay it, and it's not always going to be the same. Again, this is just all about options. This is not about this is the way to do it, but about you can try it early, you can try it late. Try all of these things and see what works best for you. You know, try it with rubato, try it completely straight. Yeah, anyway, so something I found very problematic was bar 13. I'm not keen on the way Uwe plays it, which is like lots of pedal. And then when we get down here, then it starts to get a bit more detached. And this is again part of the reason why I like this quite slow. If I go from bar 11 and it's slowish, and here I really like leaning, lean on this note, lean on this note. Now, the whole thing has generally been reasonably slow up until this moment. And then now what I want to do is accelerate, speed up and go towards. and now we start to move quicker. Sorry, I'm a little bit out of practice because it was a few days ago that I recorded this. Right, so hopefully you guys agree with me that especially when we speed up, so we've gone, and this not but delayed. It makes so much more sense to me that way around, but anyway. And incidentally, when I then went on YouTube and looked at what other pianists had done, the versions that I liked was when they did the same thing, they slightly delayed it. Anyway, something I perhaps could have done more of is the crescendo in bar 74, and then added that same crescendo to this thing in bar 21. Didn't occur to me really. And in fact, yeah, it works really well with the crescendo. Other pianists did this. I didn't think of doing it. And afterwards I was like, why did I not think of putting a crescendo in? But not too much. I mean, you don't want to be contrived about it. And what you don't want to do is slow down either. I don't think this works. And some people did this. So that's too contrived. That's way too contrived. I think it needs to have the same speed. So from bar 19. Something like that. And then for me, put that like what most people do, and then they go and then kind of slow down. Sorry about all of this annoying drilling in the background, or the sawing or whatever it is. Anyway, so then most people then go and yes, this is I think what Uwe wants, but I think it's very hard to have structural unity of the entire piece. What I like is having that slowness and mysteriousness at the beginning gradually get faster. And so here, when I get to bar 22, what I like is going from bar 21, and then I actually come in early. I don't wait for that. I go and come in a little bit early to push it, to really push it along. And then I love the left hand a little bit more portato, a little bit sort of and it helps to separate what the two hands are doing, especially in chorus 2. If you're good enough to do this, if you can have completely different articulations in both hands, I think it gives it so much extra character. I mean, I suppose you can do that, but this has a lot more rhythmic drive. It sounds a lot more exciting. They're completely different feels. You do whatever you feel you like the most. But for me, whoops, and you notice I'm nodding my head, I'm tapping my foot, and I think pretty much the entire way through the piece I am nodding my head and tapping my foot. If you're not doing that, you're not going to have the pulse that this needs. And then you want to get used to how this feels in your left hand so you can put it on autopilot a bit. And I love this tune. It's beautiful. You don't want to be too rhythmic with the right hand. This has to breathe and be expansive. And this is such an expressive note, this E. And then what a lot of people do, and what I did in the beginning, because it's quite difficult getting the timing when you learn it from scratch. So it's very tempting to whack that E when you go back to it, the final beat of bar 26. So don't do that. What I think is da, 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 and it gradually goes down. I think it's okay to do it a little bit, like to go da, 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 a little bit. You can go up a little bit, but you don't want to go dum, da, da, da. You absolutely don't want to do that. Don't do that. You have to think of da, 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 or da, 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 da. But it's tailing away. So now Uwe plays this wrong, bar 28. and some other people play this wrong. So we've got 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. So it's not 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. The E does not happen with the left hand, so just be careful with that, because I've noticed quite a few people doing that. So, and then I don't think that this turn has to be exactly that time, and actually I quite like elongating it, but not elongating it to the point where the E happens with the B in the left hand. So I've stretched that turn out, but the left hand still arrives afterwards, or you can try and do it a little bit more in time. I think that's a bit more strictly in time. Now what happens here, you want to not be strictly in time. I mean, you want to still keep the same pulse, but you want to feel like da, 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 and it stretches, it gets broader. And something that I'm aware that I do is, because this rhythm is so difficult, I actually forgot, I had a piece of paper where I worked out the common denominators to work out how the hands go together in that section. So just be aware that it's not this, it's not, that the A and the C do not happen together. The C happens just after the A. It's something like that. It's something like that if you do it properly, but eventually you want to just be able to go da, 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 da. And I found it so difficult to work this out, and for me what worked is to sort of go from the beginning before I get it fluid, and then just pause before coming back there, and that gives me the feeling of these triplets. And when you play triplets, you don't, it's not something that comes from the head. It's not like the intellectual mind is going da 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 and working it out. Really what it's like is my hand feels da 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 and da 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 da. It's quite easy to get that triplet feeling if your hand is going ba 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 and you're going for the feeling and they all feel equal. And then hopefully this should at some point get in your muscle memory to the point where that just ticks away without you thinking. And then you go, and then my right hand is just going ba, 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 ba. And it's all done by feeling. Not going to say too much more than that because it's quite complicated, but maybe at some point I'll do a video on cross rhythms and, you know, 2 against 3, 3 against 4. But it's all about how the hand feels as you do it. Da, 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 da. And the way that I found to do that is just to delay the next bar a bit. Da, 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 da. And then I quite like this quite snappy. So broad, snappy, broad, and then with this delay before the next bar, and then making sure that the left hand is nice and snappy again, and then for ages I could not really work out what is the difference between the rhythm in bar 34 and the rhythm in bar 30 and 32. And really for me the difference is that in the first, in bar 30 and 32, you just pause before the next bar, and in bar 34 you just straight into the next bar. That's the difference to me, and everything else is just way too complicated. So now I like this very, very articulated. I think a lot of people play, and I think it's, hang on, what are the notes? That's it. So when you get to the end of bar 36, I think don't be afraid to really bring your hands off the keys, and then you come down and then straight up again, ba ba da ba 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 da. And then you're really going to get the feeling of this. So, better. I love that. I think very few people are really grabbing just what sounds so good about that rhythm. and then blah, 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 blah. Oh, something that I didn't mention at the beginning. Some people try and use as little pedal as possible, and I quite like it. So something like... No, not enough. So you have to do half pedaling. You've got to be sort of really subtle with your pedal. It's difficult on the digital piano. Too much. Whatever it is. And it's so confusing. I get so confused that the first time you go up here, and the second time you go down here, and then I dither about going, oh my God, is it up there, down there? That's quite tricky. Anyway, so... And then other things about the beginning, the way Uwe plays it, I quite like it. It's like you crescendo, you do waves through each one. I mean, I'm exaggerating, he doesn't quite do it like that, but there's so many different ways that you can play this thing. Yes, so I think it's very weak that the entire beginning is repeated at the end. I think that's... it's weak. Oh yeah, and also one thing, when we get to the end of chorus 2, I found it weird that we go and then have that. And so what I did, I quite like hanging on to one of the A's with my right hand thumb. That made so much more sense to me. And then I listened today again to Uwe's version, and he just holds it all in the pedal. Which is like, well, yeah, that actually makes the most sense, but that's not what he's written. But just going, just sounds awful. And then going to that, I mean, that just sounds like it's just 3 different things all tacked onto each other. So, you know, either pedal and then, or go something like what I did, hang on to that A, and then it's up to you. Do you want to whack that left hand? Do you want it quietly? It's he hasn't said, you know, you can go, or you can go. It's up to you, you know, explore it. Anyway, so I'm conscious that my phone might run out of space any moment. So I'll try and wrap this up quickly. Yes, so as I was saying, I think it's weak that everything's just repeated again. So I added some cheeky little sort of fills in from bar 66. And then I think that's very tango-ish. I like that. Again, it might be frowned on if you do that in your grade 8 exam, unless you write it into your score. But I quite like that. Just bear in mind that when you play everything again the second time round, in my opinion, you want to really do your best to have a very different feel from whatever you did the first time round. Don't just make it exactly the same. I think that's quite dull. And then I don't think this works. I'm going to go from, I don't know, bar 73. So I don't think that works. Again, like the last time, just go straight in. I wish I'd done a sudden getting quieter and then getting louder, but not too much, and don't make it sound contrived. So if I go from the same place, no, too fast. So, hang on. And then you'll notice that I've changed a little bit at the end. So bear in mind that the last time that we had this, which I think happens just before chorus 2, at the end of chorus 1, the left hand is down there. So why would we end here where the left hand has a lot less emphasis? So I want... and even if it's without the glissando going down, so it's so much stronger. So let me play it as it's written. Oh God, I can't do it because my muscle memory takes me the other way. Hang on. Yeah, my hand just wants to go the other way. Or this. With the right notes, obviously. I think it's so much stronger that way. And then when I was looking afterwards and being really curious, what have other people done with this piece? One very good pianist, who I loved the way that she played it, finished, and now she didn't play that the third note from the end, but she did something like, and then just played that note with her thumb, and then jumped down and did that. And I was like, yes, I'm not the only one who thought it really needs that. Yeah, I think it needs going down there. And also, I do like, and then going down like that. And if you watch Uwe's masterclass that he did on this piece, he was talking about when he had lessons with the bandoneon master, who was saying, no, you've got to put these glissandos, you know, when you're playing. That's just the tango way. So anyway, I'm gonna stop there and hope that my phone has not run out of storage space. If you liked this video and if it was useful for you, please show your appreciation, press like, press subscribe, leave comments, and I look forward to seeing you on my next performances and tutorials. So take care and goodbye.